Good morning. Today I'm getting to some much needed spring cleaning as well as getting started on some of the cabin's finishing touches. Let's get right into it.
Alright guys, it's been a couple days since I've been out to the property. I just got back and I am pleased to say the water has gone down substantially since I was last here. There is no standing water whatsoever, which means I can finally get to something that has been bothering me all winter long. I think it's time we get down to business and do some real spring deep cleaning. So that's what I'm here to do today. But first, before I get into that, let me show you what everything looks like before we start. The driveway is probably the most openly and obviously train wreck of the property. That actually might be a strong word to use for all of this, but it's quite a mess. We got all this tongue and groove here. We got this box, this light I got, that extension cord does not belong to me. It's a garbage down and around here that came from different bits and stuff. Entire car battery, this whole pile, which is an absolute monstrosity, and all the wood that we didn't manage to get over to the actual, wood pile before last year's snowfall. The trail, on the other hand, is doing just fine, and aside from this little snow area right here, it's melted out to like what it should look like in midsummer. Even my moss on the edges has done quite well and is fully green, which is awesome to see because I didn't know how that would fare over the deep winter. Over here we of course have to deal with some of the stuff that's still in, bags and boxes from when we moved up here, as well as this giant pile of wood that never got cut. That needs to get cut and stacked over there. And we have a lot of trash in and around the front door that needs to be taken care of. Honestly, I think out here in the front might be the worst offender just because, it doesn't have much for garbage, but it does have all of these logs that have tons and tons of sawdust in and around them, and it just makes everything look kind of dirty. Beyond that, over here, we have piles of insulation that need to get gotten rid of, as well as the rest of this Tyvek. So all told, there's a lot of work that needs to be done before we can turn this crack house into a crack home, but that's what I'm here to do today. So I'm gonna grab some trash bags and we'll get started. And I think by tonight, things will be looking a lot better. Let's get right into it.
In more polite circles, I'm what a lot of people might call that one guy who's really bringing down the property value in the neighborhood. And they're probably not wrong, so let's try and change that. I feel like a lot of people dread spring cleaning and whatever yard work or garage clearing that comes with, but for me at least, I've been itching to get at this for most of the winter. For most of my life, I've been the kind of person who has to keep their spaces clean. When I got home from school, it was almost always the first thing I did before getting to whatever projects I'd had laid out for the day. And the same is very much true now. I need things to be in order so I can focus on getting stuff done, and knowing that there were piles of trash, lumber, and debris laying under the snow has been driving me crazy since about November. Not only that, but since I lose things almost constantly, about half of my tools were just waiting to be rediscovered. Case in point, all of these. Behold, all of the tools thus far recovered from the driveway. And this is why a storage shed is one of the very first things on the list this year. Let's get back to work. The driveway didn't take too long, but when it was done, I was onto the giant pile of wood that needed to be hauled, cut, and stacked. It definitely took a lot longer than some of the other things I ended up doing, but was probably one of the more enjoyable. Cutting wood is my favorite type of labor. It's simple, necessary, and super satisfying. So I spent the rest of the first day getting that done, as well as a good portion of the night. I have an abysmal sleep schedule and almost never feel tired, so it just seemed like a better use of my time than trying to get some sleep. I'm not exactly sure why, but I didn't see much of my bison neighbors last year. Fortunately, the next morning they paid me a visit and have been coming closer and closer every day, which has been just a treat. Love seeing them up close. With the woodcut, I got to stacking and raking out the area in front of the door. I can't tell you how great it feels to be able to walk freely around the front of the cabin again. It's been an absolute wreck the entire winter, and it really goes a long way in making things feel open again. There wasn't as much trash around the cabin as there was by the driveway, but I made quick work of what was there. After that, I got to cleaning up the front yard, if you can call it that. In my mind, it was the biggest mess on the property, which is weird because it was really just a few pieces of residue left over from when I used to have my chopping log here. So once those few stray aspen logs were gone, I could finally get to some raking. With the area around the cabin, the trail, and the driveway looking a lot more presentable, it was time I did a bit of work inside the cabin itself and put up the first of the trim. Cleaning up the edges of the tongue and groove with some trim is really one of the last things that needs to be done to the interior, and I got the floor layer finished to start out with. I would have done some more, but I still need to put up the last few pieces of tongue and groove, and without the help of a friend, putting up those 16 footers is almost impossible, so I'll leave that for another day. It's so exciting to finally be back to the property full time. It's hard to believe it's already been a year since I came up here, and that it's taken this long to really get settled. But it's beginning to feel real now. The cabin is built, save for a few minor details. Winter is over, and I have a solid 5 months or so before it comes back. 5 months of new builds, new expeditions, adventures. There's just so much to do out there. So much to do right here, too. And this year, I have a head start, as well as a home base. And with that home base thoroughly cleaned up and ready to go, it's finally time to get back out there, whether that means making a garden, a tower, seeing whales and sea lions, climbing mountains, kayaking rivers, or just wandering in the wilderness. I am finally ready to begin. I hate asking people what their favorite season is, because 9 times out of 10, they're all gonna say summer. And summer's fine, especially here where it opens up the world to adventure and improvement, but in my mind, the only answer to that question is spring, and I really can't wrap my head around why people would think otherwise. I'm definitely a morning person, and spring feels like the morning of the year. It's the time to get excited about the year ahead. You look out over the coming months, the summer ahead, and the autumn after it, and there's nothing there but potential for everything. The growth, improvement, fun, adventure, being on the cusp of all those things. That's the reason I will always answer spring. And that is going to just about do it for me today. Thank you all so much for watching this far. I got a lot done this week, and I'm so relieved to finally have this giant mess all cleared out and have this space ready to go for all the things I want to add in this year. Soon, I want to put in some planters over here, some raised beds, maybe 5 or 6, I don't know yet. And if I can afford it, I will start on my tower this year, which is going to be amazing. That'll probably go over there somewhere, but who knows at this point. It is just so wonderful to finally be in this part of the year where I can just be out here every single day getting stuff done, and it's just a wonderful thing. Anyway, you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Sunday, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I'm doing my best. I'm Mick, and until next time, stay warm out there. You guys have a good night.